Let's talk about what happens to your TN visa status when you quit or lose your job in the US. The TN visa is tied to employment with the sponsoring employer. When the TN visa holder ends their employment with the employer, maybe due to layoffs or voluntarily deciding to quit, the visa status ends as well. TN visas are non-immigrant visas, meaning the intent of the holder must be temporary. Practically speaking, this means that a worker on a TN visa is expected to return to their home country when the visa expires or is terminated. TN visas are only issued for a finite period of time, and the US government expects that TN holders will remain mindful of expiration dates and the conditions of their visa and will plan accordingly. There are 2 grace periods that are attached to TN visas, depending on the circumstances. When a TN visa status expires and it's not extended by the employer, the US government grants a grace period of 10 days from the last day of the visa status. This means that the individual who previously held TN status has 10 days to depart the US. I know this grace period sounds short, but it's a reflection of the fact that the TN visa holder is assumed to know the relevant conditions and expiration dates attached to their visa status. The TN visa is a temporary status, and visa holders are expected to plan their exit strategies accordingly. When an individual's employment ends before the visa actually expires, so through layoffs or quitting, the grace period is going to be longer. In this situation, regulations permit a grace period following the end of employment for up to 60 consecutive calendar days or until the end of the authorized validity period, whichever is shorter. This means that the individual can maintain their status in the US for up to 60 days if they had at least 60 days remaining on their visa before it expired. If the visa was due to expire in less than 60 days, that would be the number of days they may lawfully remain in the US. If you find yourself in one of the above situations, you may be able to extend or change your status depending on the circumstances. If your visa expires and you find yourself subject to the 10-day grace period rule, you must leave the United States. However, you may try to re-enter the United States under visitor status in order to tie up any loose ends. Whether you'll be admitted for this purpose remains up to the discretion of the border officer. Now, if your employment ends before the visa expires, you have 60 days to file for a change of employer or a change of status. If you find a new job that qualifies for a TN visa and the new employer is willing to sponsor you under this visa status, you do not need to leave the United States, and you can file your change of employer request via mail. In this circumstance, though, you may not begin working for the new employer until the application is approved. Alternatively, you may leave the country and re-enter at a port of entry to reapply for a new TN visa under the new sponsoring employer. Alternatively, individuals subject to the 60-day grace period may file for a change of status with USCIS by mail. In this circumstance, they would be requesting a change of status to visitor status. Whether this request is granted is going to be a matter of discretion. While the request is being adjudicated, they are put into an authorized period of stay and may remain in the United States pending a decision. If you have any questions about TN visas, contact us at Sisu Legal Immigration.